Dr. Abdulganiu R.I., who is a senior lecturer of the University of Lagos, a mathematician by profession. We also have Mrs. Adetutu, Mr. Ebenezer, and Mrs. Ayo Ade. I am your host, Miss Efe. So welcome to the SDGs Advocate Program. Let me remind us of the topic again: promoting quality education for sustainable development in Lagos State. And this emanated from the SDGs goals. We have about 17 goals, and I chose one of the goals, which is goals number 4, talks about quality education. So while we wait for Dr. Ganiu, I would like to introduce our first speaker, which is Mrs. Bailey Adetutu. Please, can we clap our hands using the emoji on our on the platform, please? Can we just show sign of yeah, I can see Dr. Virus already. I'm waiting for more hands. I'm waiting for more hands to come up. Can we have more hands, please? Yes. Yeah. Also, can I see Mrs. Ayoade? Mrs. Ayoade, I have not seen your hands yet. All right. Welcome once again. As I introduce Miss Bailey Adetutu. Miss Bailey Adetutu Oluwa Bukola. She's married with children. She's a BSc holder. Sorry, excuse me. Hello, please, as you come in, just mute your mic. Thank you. All right. I just want to introduce Mrs. Bailey Adetutu Oluwabukola. She's married with children. She's a BSc ED holder, MSc ED holder, PhD in biochemistry. She's an educator, a trainer, works as an academic supervisor / chemistry teacher at a prestigious secondary school, Imperial Light College for One Estate, Lagos. At this point, let's just use the opportunity to welcome Mrs. Bailey Adetutu. Mrs. Bailey, over to you, ma'am. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I was thinking, can everybody hear me? Can we just give me a sign emoji that you're with me? Can I proceed?
Yes, you can, ma'am. You can proceed.
Please, I would like to share my screen. Okay. Okay. Can everybody see?
Very clearly. Very clearly.
Okay, very clear. Not to waste our time. We are really talking about quality education, and is a very important aspect for global goals, which helps for sustainability in the world. And when we're talking about promoting quality education for sustainability, especially in Lagos State, there are so many parameters that must be considered when looking at this. So just as Ms. Ife already highlighted that the sustainability development has 17 goals but the fourth target, which is quality education, is what we are after. And under the quality education, there are 10 ways in which was designed to meet these targets, basically on different educational system. But I'm not really going to dwell much on that. Let's just quickly dwell in what we're actually aiming at. The SDG is aiming to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education for all, which means providing education that is accessible to everyone, regardless of their background or circumstances. This emphasizes the importance of education so as to promote critical thinking, creativity, and also a long life learning. So when we say, what does quality means, in the context of education? When we're looking at quality in education, we are talking about our efficacy, the efficiency, and our equality and quality of the education can be to the learners. Quality education, when we look at it, we are talking about the holistic approach to education, which focuses on development of learners. It prepares the learners for long life learning and not just for testing. It has to involve the learner's safety, health, and also the supportive environments, inclusive curriculum and materials. It has to do with the learning processes and strategies which will help the learners, which also will give and put an account to their diversity and the needs of the learner and their community in which they are placed. We are still talking about quality education for all children. Then we are looking at, regardless of the gender, the background, the ethnicity, the ability, they must remove every barrier so as to provide equal opportunity for the learner to succeed. We must address gender inequality. We must address poverty. We must address disability and discrimination. Talking about inclusive education, it helps to promote our cultural diversity, embrace different learning styles, which will help to support an inclusive learning environment, which aims for its learners to be able to reach the full potential and contribute to the society. When we are talking about education, basically, it's not about the potential of the learner at itself. Then we are looking also at the social role of the learners when he grows up. Education is not only for you to learn, or you must also learn other things as to do with your social role in wherever you are. According to UNICEF, talking about quality education, it includes the learner who must be healthy, well-nourished, ready to participate and learn, supported by their families and their community. A learner cannot learn when he's hungry, tired, when the environment is not safe or protected, when they are not gender sensitive, when there's not equal opportunity for resources to be used. The content must reflect a relevant curriculum and materials, especially in the area of literacy, numeracy, and skills of life. The processes in which teachers must train in using the child-centered teaching approach. The outcome also must be put in place. So there are only 5 parameters which I'm going to use to indicate or to talk about this quality education so as to promote a quality education in the country, especially Lagos at large. We are still talking about inclusive learning environment for the learner. We must be careful as a teacher, most especially. We're talking about real theory of justice, fair equity of opportunity. This is the one that's talking about opportunity that entails that the distribution of education will not put the children of those who are currently occupied until in social position at any competitive advantage over others. There must be equal talent. Do you understand? Must be equal talent and motivated children seeking to qualification for those positions. meaning that everybody, regardless of wherever you are, rich or poor, you must be able to enjoy this quality education. Now, looking at this, in this existing world of basic dimension of quality education in our today's world, then we are looking at quality learners, quality learning environment. This was coined from the definition of quality education from UNICEF in 2000. Then you are talking about quality content, the quality process, and the quality outcome. These are the 5 indicators I quickly want to draw into. When you're talking about quality learners, then you're considering the learner's needs in which you can achieve this quality education, which I've already talked about, some few minutes ago. For a learner to enjoy, to have a good academic and to also survive in this world, you must check the psychological part of the child. How supportive are the family, the environment that the child is into? What are the things that the child needs, for him or her to come to school? Is the child hungry? Is the child sleeps well? Where is the child sleeping? All those things must be put in place when we are implementing this quality education for us to promote an equality and inclusive learning environment for our learners. Then we should talk about the quality learning environment, talking about the interaction of social infrastructure and other quality dimension. How interactive, what's happening in the school environment? Are they sitting on the floor? Are they sitting on a very comfortable environment? You can see this picture. This does not depict a good quality education. This is a very poor one. Look at these children, they're looking hungry, haggard. When you talk about the class size, the ratio of what to what with the teacher, are we talking about almost 50 students or 30 students in a class? It has to be a ratio in which the teacher can be able to assess the student so as to impart quality education to the child. We're talking about effective school discipline policy. A well-managed school must be able to have a well-standard policy. If the school and teacher and administration they don't agree with the school rules, definitely there's going to be a catastrophe on the behavior aspect of the students. This is a serious aspect that needs to be looked upon in education. I was saying that when you talk about education and everything, it's not only to promote the child to have knowledge or anything or potentials in life, but what about the social aspect of it? How will you behave in a society where you are? When you talk about education, education is applicable in everything you do. Talking about the inclusive environment, effective inclusion of environment, looking at the needs of the disability of students, Now, let's quickly go to quality content. We're talking about content, then we are talking about intended and taught curriculum that must be used in the school. It must be able to match with the national goal of education, well stated, which must be measurable and achievable, starting from the development to the implementation. It must be child-centered, no discrimination. It must be a standard-based curriculum structure. The curriculum must be able to accommodate individual differences. Integrated subject matter, which focuses on the standard and target for student learning. Curriculum structure should be able to be gender sensitive, inclusive for all children, regardless of what the background with and also talking about the conflict resolution. So when I talk about quality education, content is also important. What are you going to pass to the children? What are the intended curriculum? The overall school activities that are put in place? How are you considering, because the child is crippled or the child is on wheelchair, there must be something that must be inclusive for the child to be able to excel in the course of teaching the child. Then we are still talking about curriculum. It emphasizes over the time the virtue of reflecting unique historical pattern. That's what you yourself talked about. That you must be able to merge both local, level interest also impacts on the quality content. Not only talk about national, you must also look at the community, that's the local level interest, which must also be used when we're talking about the curriculum content, which must be delivered. In all countries, however, quality content should include literacy, we've talked numeracy, life skills, and peace education. So as well as we're talking about science courses and social science courses. Life skills in curriculum focuses on the attitude, values, and behavioral changes rather than seeking to provide young people with body of knowledge. We're talking about life skills also. In other countries like China, they include it as health education for development and also global education. They were still talking about curricular content because also include peace education. Some schools that were having civic education, security education, which will help to seek the students so as to gain ability to prevent conflicts or also resolve conflicts peacefully when it arises, whether it's in intrapersonal or interpersonal or intergroup, or even in class or outside class. Peace education, it will help to address cognitive, effective, and behavioral learning of the students anywhere they go. That's why you need to have something like recreational programs, youth groups, and clubs, which helps to train the mind of the learner so as to know that peace is important in everything that we do. Talking about quality processes, now we are looking at what are the ways in which all of these things can be put in place? What are the strategies? And who can make all these inputs in a meaningful learning experience for the student is the teacher. The teacher represents the key factor in ensuring quality education processes in school. Without the teacher, all of these that we've been talking about, quality NERA, quality environment, quality content, nobody can deliver except the teacher. Then when we are considering the teacher, we all know the teacher must have an academic qualification. The teacher must be able to have a deep knowledge of whatever the teacher is teaching. We are talking about the professional learning for the teacher. We're talking about the competency of the teacher. The highest grade quality teachers, as said by Darlene Hammond in 1997, says the highest quality teachers are those that are capable of helping the learners learn, in which they have a deep mastery of both the subject and what the pedagogy. That has to do with science of teaching. We are talking about the child must undergo professional development training, must be able to be going for, exposing user herself to professional courses, which will help to help the teacher also have more knowledge on how to deliver the content to the students. Now, we are talking about the teacher. Teacher is a person, is a human being. Are we not looking at the working conditions? All of these factors have to be put in place for the teacher also to be able to deliver effectively the quality education to the students. What are the supportive working conditions? What are the salary conditions of the teachers? Are we looking at the health factor of the teacher? How many times are teachers going to the hospital to check on themselves, or do they even have the facility, or do they even have the means? They are also human beings. They have physical needs. Social and emotional factors that also need to be considered when think about the teacher, because they are the only person that can deliver this quality education and also promote this inclusive and equitable inclusion of education to the students. Now we're talking about the outcome. That's the final intention of which we have been expecting of educational system. Then what has the child known through their behavior? What are the expectations for themselves and also their society? Education has to do with the means, the process, and the products. So this quality outcome is the product, which are the students. After all this has been done, what are the outcome, attitude of the child, the expectation, and others that lead to the society? So all of these things must be put in place if we are to promote quality education. Bringing all these things I mentioned together, that's learners, environment, content, process, outcome. I know it's a very big task, we are still planning, but we must, whenever you're implementing, this requires knowledge, resource, and commitment, and willingness for us to change our society so as to achieve these 2030 goals to eradicate poverty through quality education. Accommodation has been the main accommodation, especially in China, is when they talk about re-examining. We need to continue to re-examine and re-examine, and making sure that the plan of SDG do not go down the drain. And I think that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Can we please clap our hands for Mrs. Adetutu? Let's show our hands. Show on the chat room our emoji. I can hear some distorting noise there. Please, can someone mute from their end, please? Thank you. Thank you. All right. So without wasting much time, I would like to introduce the next speaker. I talked about him before now. Yeah, thank you, Peter Chinalu. I can see your hands. Thank you very much. All right, so let me just quickly introduce Dr. Abdulganiu Rilwan Iyonda. He's a PhD holder, a mathematician by profession, a senior lecturer. I don't know if I said that in the first introduction. And without wasting much time, he's married with kids, so many kids, about 4 of them. At this point, I just want to introduce Dr. Rilwan Abdulganiu to the podium. Doctor, you are on now.
Okay, thank you so much. Part of what I want to emphasize, the other speakers have emphasized that we are looking at promoting quality education for sustainable development in Lagos State, the state we live in. First of all, what is education? Let me start from there. And I will quickly look at the UNESCO definition of what education is. According to UNESCO 2000, education refers to the total process of developing human ability and behaviors. Human ability and behaviors. It is an organized and sustained instruction designed to communicate a combination of knowledge, skill, understanding value for all activities of life. I want us to look at the last 3 clause that we have in that definition. Combination of 3 things. The first one is knowledge, second one is skill, and the third one to understand and appreciate value for all activities in life. Critically looking at this definition, we can classify education into 2. Education as a process, education as a product. Now, what is education as process? For the process, we have 4 components. The first one is the students, without which we cannot have others. It is only when we have students that we are going to have the remaining 3. Followed by the teacher, the syllabus, the curriculum, the contents to be delivered, and the infrastructures. These are the 4 that come under education as a process. You and I, we pass through this process. One time we were students, we passed through some syllabus from primary school, through our university, and also we see some of the infrastructures that were available then, and we are seeing those that are available now in our various schools. Now, as products, there are 2 major things that are particular about the product of the education. Number 1 is to turn out our students as human person who are knowledgeable enough and are also self-reliant. Two things. The process of education must inculcate in every student knowledge, must also allow those students to be self-reliant. Finally, the human person those students are must also now move to the society to give birth to humane society. Now the question is our society humane? If yes, we have no problem. If the society is not humane, then we need to go back to the process. Sorry, if the society is not humane, that means that those in the society are not human person in totality, in quote now. They are not human person that are not knowledgeable. They may not be knowledgeable. We may think they are knowledgeable and they will not be knowledgeable, because there's a difference between knowing how to speak English, knowing how to speak Yoruba, knowing how to speak Igbo, and allowing what we have learned in school to pass through us. They are not the same. So, and are they self-reliant? If they are not self-reliant, then there is a problem, and that's what gives back to corruption, the greediness, and all other vices. So the implication of this is that we need to go back to the process that produced those people. And that is our education as a process. That means that the process is faulty. That's the technicality. If the society is not humane, those in the society cannot be categorized as human person, then the process that produced those people need to be reviewed. Now, as a nation, what do we take education for? Nigeria as a nation. Now, in Nigeria, according to our national policy on education, it states, and I quote, "Education shall continue to be highly rated in the national development plans because education is the most important instrument." I underline the keywords there. The most important instrument for change. Nigerian government see education as the most important instrument for change. Also, not only important instrument for change, however, the way it will bring about that change. That is why we have that full column. Any fundamental change in the intellectual, number one, and social outlook of any society has to be preceded by an education revolution. The next question is, do we see this statement as we have put it here? Do we work by that, by this statement? Do we actually walk and talk around this statement? So that's part of what we set to look at as far as this discussion is concerned. The next one is to now look at the topic at hand, sustainable development goals. The first thing we must know is that sustainable development goals aim to continue from somewhere. We have Millennium Development Goals. That is goal that was set in the 90s, early 80s towards 90s till we get to the new millennium, which is 2000 or the 21st century. We have that goal where each country, each nation, how far were they able to achieve those millennium goals? Those that were not able to be achieved then, they are now rolled into what we refer to as sustainable development goals. And that's what we put here. That SDG aim to continue and enhance the effort initiated by the MDGs, ensuring that all individuals have their human rights fulfilled, achieving gender equality across all aspects of life, and crucially, maintain a harmonious equilibrium among the economic, social, and environmental aspects of development. There are 17 of them. The Sustainable Development Goals, we have 17 of them. But the one that is peculiar to this discussion is the SDG 4. And I put it here, out of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals aim at transforming the world by 2030. SDG 4 holds significant importance as it prioritizes quality education. Of course, this is for obvious reason. And as MP has stated, let me go back to that slide because I may be going back forth and back on some slide. As a nation, we have seen that without education, then there can never be change. How have we taken our education? And that's one of the reasons why we have all these goals being put together by UNESCO, to be specific. Now, go for target. We have known the reason. Emphasis is on quality education. Then what are the targets according to UN Sustainable Development? What are the targets that we have? We have about 12 of them. Number 1, the girls and boys must complete free, equitable, and quality primary and secondary education. Number 2, girls and boys have access quality to early childhood development. 3, all women and men to have affordable and quality technical, vocational, and tertiary education, including university. Gender disparity should be eliminated, ensuring that all youth and a substantial proportion of adults, both men and women, achieve literacy and numeracy. It go on, and finally, so that I will not waste much of our time, the number 10, very, very important. Substantially increase the supply of qualified teachers, including through international cooperation for teacher training in developing countries, especially least developed country and small island developing states. These are the focus of SDG, the target of SDG number 4. The question now is whether Nigeria, whether Lagos State. As a nation, what have we done? I want us to, because of time, I will refer us to 2 particular books. The first one is SDGs Monitor Journal. I will project it now. I will show it to every one of us. It's a 40 pages document to let us see how have we gone as far as the nation called Nigeria is concerned. The second one is a document of the federal government through Federal Ministry of Education. And the document is titled, let me quickly look for that document. Yes, the document is titled Education in Nigeria, Evaluation of the Effectiveness and Impact of SDG 4. That document is 272 pages document. I want us to have access to this document, go through the 2 documents and see how far we have gone as a nation. I will summarize some of them, and we must be frank with ourselves. We are not yet ready. According to those 2 documents, we are not yet ready as a nation to meet the objective of SDG 4 in 2030. We are in 2024. 2030 is about 6 years away from us. How ready are we? From what I have gathered, we are not yet ready, but we can improve on what we have on ground. Let's now take Lagos State as a case study. Before I take Lagos State as a case study, let me quickly share those documents. Let me share the first one. Let me remove this. Share document. Let me first of all share This is the document of 272 pages. We have education in Nigeria, evaluation of the effectiveness and impact of SDG. Let me quickly go to the executive summary of this document. I want to bring out one particular portion of the document so that we see that we are not yet ready as a country. Excuse me, please. Sorry for that. Sorry. Now let's look at this table 3.32 in that document. This is produced by the Nigerian government through our Federal Ministry of Education about 3 or 4 years ago when President Muhammad Buhari was still in power. Let's look at the first one, proportion of children and young people. Now let's look at finding. Nigeria is unlikely to achieve this target in 2030. Look at the next one, administration of nationally representative learning assessment in secondary school. You will see that the conclusion is still that Nigeria unlikely to achieve this target by 2030. It goes on and on like that. We can continue to look at them. Look at 4.1.4a, net enrollment ratio in primary education. We have Nigeria unlikely to achieve SDG target in 2030. Cumulatively, we are not ready as a nation, but some states are performing better than other states. And in my view, one of the states that is performing relatively well is Lagos State. So let me now take let me take the second one also to point out some of the things that we need to know as far as the discussion here is concerned. Look at this. I hope all of us can see this. The document I'm sharing.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. This is SDGs Monitor, a journal for implementation. I will take some quotation. Let's look at some of the side quotation. Number one, due to poor funding, corruption, and non-implementation of policies, we are still coming to all this, and program designed for the revival of education sector, the Nigerian government appear not to be following a path that will enable the country to obtain quality education in line with the SDG by 2030. Look at this. Worried by declining in quality of education in Nigeria university in the past few years, the federal government has propelled the NUC to live up to expectation as a dynamic regulatory agency acting as a catalyst for positive change and innovation for the delivery of quality university education in the country. We have so many things to share, but because of time, I will not waste much time. Quality education is an essential factor that can propel national development in Nigeria. It is capable of transforming the country from a resource-driving market to a knowledge-driving economy. However, for the SDG quality education goal to be attained in Nigeria, scholars insist that government must see education the way it needs to be seen. So, let me go to this. We are still going to talk about financing of education. Education financing in general has been negatively affected by broad microeconomic problem in Nigeria. And all of us will agree with me that the federal government and by extension, the state governments have not been seeing education the way it ought to be seen as far as our country is concerned. Let me now go to Lagos State as a case study, which is the major focus of this talk. Now, The next one, sorry. Now, SDG 4 and Lagos State. Like I said earlier, education as a process can be classified into four. We are to look at it in four ways. Number one, students. Number two, infrastructure, curriculum, and teachers. Let's start with students. I will take the successive government, particularly in the democratic era, into consideration. In Lagos State, so many laws have been enacted to ensure that we don't have out-of-school children roaming about. That started with the current president of the country, while it was Lagos State government, Lagos State governor, succeeded by Fashola. Fashola really tried a lot on this form. We must give it to him. During his tenure, we see massive infrastructure, particularly the building, the classroom, the laboratory, all over the states. And Ambode also continue with this to ensure that the number of out of school in Lagos State are reduced, and also to give preference for, I don't like the word I use here, but because that was the word that is used in SDG, disability. Normally, in my profession as an ODL practitioner, we normally call them equal opportunity, because we believe that the word disability is derogatory. Instead, these are the people that we are trying to ensure that we give them the same opportunity that others that are not having problem physically are having. So as far as Lagos State is concerned, though we still have some of our children working in streets, hawking here and there, I believe if you compare with all other states, Lagos is doing more. But we are saying that the government should live up to the expectation and do more, give sanction to those parents that refuse to bring their children into this school, particularly the government school. I have also talked about infrastructure. Yes, the lot of infrastructure development in Lagos State, particularly in primary school and secondary school. We can move from local government to local government. Some local governments are doing well, far better well than other. Let me give you Aja, for instance. I have had reason to go to Aja to supervise students. And then I must say this, that the Ibejuleki, Etiosa, and Aja, the condition of school and building there, they are not too good compared to what we have in some part of mainland, some part of Almosho Agege, and also some part of island. I think government need to look inward. In fact, when I got to Epe, I was surprised. The land mass, the kind of structures that we have there, and the kind of laboratory that we have, the government actually pumped money to that. That may be due to the fact that one of the governors that have governed the state actually came from that area of state. Of course, there's no problem. That is one of legacy that they will always remember him for, as far as that part of the state is concerned. Government need to do more. Our classes are overcrowded in some area. Let me give an example of a particular school in Agege, Vetland Junior and Senior Grammar School. The population there, compared to some other schools, that population is very reduced. There was a class I supervised, just 25 students. They can now compare that to a school in Nigeria that is having about 200 students in a class. Of course, there is a need to actually balance all this. And also, the community also that hosts this school also need to look inward, at least to give. I am aware that during Governor Ambode era at Ibeju, to be specific, he demanded for land that just give me a plot of land and see what I will build. But the community refused to give him that land. So if there is no land, then there is nothing to build on. And we just need to look inward in order to achieve all these goals by 2020. Now, curriculum. The question we want to ask ourselves is that, are our syllabi or syllabuses, curriculums, are they addressing the SDG 4, the focus, the key factor, the target? Are they? The answer is no. We are still recycling some of what our teachers have taught us then. Now, except for those teachers that have skill, that can look inward and teach some certain concept outside syllabus. Same apply across the country. However, if you look at what our students are doing in WAEC now, English, Maths, there's some, how will I put it, skill acquisition subject, computer, accounting, business, and others like that. They are taking all these courses. How effective are these courses to these students when they leave the school, particularly those that cannot continue? Can we beat our chest that they have learned enough that we make them to stand alone, to be self-reliant in our schools? Generally in Nigeria, the answer is no. However, in Lagos, with TESCOM, the last chairman of TESCOM, Mrs. If I remember her name, I will say that she did something that the state needs to build on, and we are still coming to that. The type of teacher she recruited for the state. Number one, she ensured that our political elites do not have much influence in the recruitment. Two, he ensured that not all teachers are recruited via you have this certificate. Beside the certificate that you have, do you have other skill? I know of someone that was recruited not because of the certificate, because the woman, the fellow told me that the woman said, if we have looked at your certificate, we have looked at your performance, we might have not given you this job. However, there is a particular skill in you that we have been looking for. Hairdressing, you know how to make puff-puff, you know how to do this, about 4 or 5 skills. And they asked the fellow to demonstrate. She was able to demonstrate all these in their presence, and she was posted to a particular school. I know of a school very close to me here at Sabo, that model college, Lagos City Model College at Sabo, that the class is divided into 2 or 3. We have those that are academically good, they have identified them. We have those that we call they are somehow weak academically. They ensure that those teachers that have skill continue to engage them in hairdressing, in art and craft. I've been to that school, I've supervised that school also. I saw it with my own eyes and I said, wow. So this is in Lagos. With that, I think we need to give the government kudos. However, that is an isolated cases. It is not in a, how will I put it, massively done in the whole of our area here, Sabo, Akoka. I think that's the only school that engaged in that. What happened to other schools? I think the government needs to look inward to ensure that beside what we need to teach in school, these students acquire the necessary skill that will make them to stand alone whenever they leave the school. Our teachers. I have mentioned recruitment, and the last speaker have also said a lot about how we need to treat our teachers. Their mental health very, very important. Their health very, very important. They have their own family to take care of, particularly the female among them. So many things surround them. And the government and the society also need to acknowledge this fact about our teachers. And also the recruitment, which I will still talk about, must also be looked into critically on the job training. How often do we take our teachers out to ensure that they are compliant with what is obtainable in the 24th century? I've discussed all this problem associated with our education, teacher quality, financing of education, education policy. In fact, as a nation, we have very good policies, but our implementation strategy very, very poor. We need to work on this also. Corruption at every level also hinder the huge factor in the education. Some of the way forward. Number one, education must be seen as stated in the MP as instrument for change. And there must be a total revolution in our education, the way it is in China, the way it is in Hong Kong, the way it is in Finland. There must also be massive campaign. I put it there. Talk and walk. Sorry, that work is supposed to be WAORK. I'm sorry. Talk and walk. We are very good at walking, at talking. But the implementation, we need to have massive campaign. Not only campaign, we must also work on it against illiteracy. There must be proper funding of our education, right from primary school through higher institution. There must be on-the-job training for the current teacher, particularly collaboration be encouraged. Let us take our teachers out of the country. Even let's start with states. If we see that a particular state is doing something right in some area of education, let our teachers visit there. Let there be collaboration between us as state, and as if need be, we take them out of the country. Let us see what is happening in other areas of the country. Then we try to adapt, not in totality, because of our own culture, our environment and our society. We see what we can adapt, and we move forward. Recruitment of qualified teacher, devoid of any political influence. Yeah, like I said, the last chairman of TESCOM, Mrs. Ario, she ensured this. And this must be sustained so that in the long run, we will not end up exporting teachers. Because if the political class has a lot of influence in recruiting our teachers, some of these people will not teach. That's just a bitter truth. They will not teach. I have seen a case where some teachers are more powerful than the principal in school. How do you ensure proper administration of the school? They walk in the way they like? No. If those that really want to work are recruited, then I think we are going to have a better result in the long run. Then concentration should be more on sustainable skill acquisition. Like I give that one of Lagos City as an example, particularly for students who may not be able to continue to higher level in education. War against corruption be intensified without any favor to the corporate. If we can block all the loopholes, we can fight this corruption the way it ought to be fought, then I believe that there will be proper funding of our education. We have money in this country that can sustain us, honestly. If we can wage war against corruption, if all of us are not trying to milk the government, then there will be a way forward to us. And finally, if the students from that primary secondary school acquire skill, there is also one major problem in our country. and in our society generally, and that is emphasis on certification. And that's why I put it here. Societal acceptability of skill acquired by the product of our schools without laying much emphasis on certification. I believe if we can do all this, then we are moving towards achieving the SDGs goals, the SDG goals in general, and in particular, the SDG number 4. Thank you for your attention. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, sir. We are grateful.
Thank you very much, sir. We are grateful. That was very explicit, going from the problems and giving solutions, profiling solution there. If we were expecting you to take over from him, but I guess we should go into questions, or is she on the call? Go ahead now. Go ahead now, please.
I'm here now.
Okay.
I'm here now. Sorry for the network issue. Thank you very much, Doctor, and sorry for the network issue. I just want to quickly introduce the next speaker. After the last speaker, then we can have questions and answers so that we can move quickly. I just want to introduce Mrs. Ayoade Oyindamola, here, the guidance and counseling graduate, MED, early childhood educationist, a trainer, an early years practitioner, and a special needs educator. At this point, I welcome Mrs. Ayoade. Mrs. Ayoade, please go ahead. You are on now.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I'm actually planning to share my slides. I can't do that.
Please go ahead. You can.
I can now. Okay.
You can.
All right. Okay. Okay, my name is Mrs. Ayoade, and I'll be talking about the general theme for this meeting or this training is promoting quality education, the SDG Goal 4 for sustainable development in Lagos State. And I'll be talking on promoting quality and lifelong learning opportunities for all school children, especially for children in Lagos State and Nigeria as a whole. So when we look at this SDG goal, this goal 4, which is talking about quality education, the major concern of the UN is that the world is actually falling apart behind in achieving quality education. And when we talk about quality education, we're talking about the process of giving quality, standard, and good education to pupils. So now let's move forward to see the word concern about quality education. And we have so many concerns there, and I'm going to be talking basically on the second concern, this one that talked about that in the year 2030, by 2030, there's a major concern that about 300 million of students will lack basic numeracy and literacy skills. So that is actually what I'm going to be talking about, because when we talk about numeracy and literacy skills, we're talking about giving quality education, giving quality numeracy and literacy skill to young children. And obviously, we all know that it's basically children that grow into adults. So if we want to have good adults, want to have productive adults, then we have to work on the children. We need to work on the skill that we pass on these children. Even the Bible says that when the foundation is when the foundation is faulty, what can the righteous do? So we need to basically work on our foundation, which is the children. So that's actually what I'm going to be focusing on now, because according to the SDG Goal 4, like I said earlier, if care is not taken, if we as educators, we as advocates, we don't put additional measures on providing intentional education, quality education, by 2030, about 300 pupils will lack basic numeracy skills. And I want to say that for teachers, where do students, where do children, where do they get these skills from? Where do they get these numeracy skills from? Where do they get these literacy skills from? Basically, it's from the school. It just now, recently, when some parents decide that they want to homeschool their children, but now basically the major place where children get this numeracy and literacy skill is basically in the school environment. And as teachers, I used to say that we can't give what we don't have. As teachers, if we don't have the right skill, if we ourselves, we don't have the right numeracy skill, or we don't have the right literacy skill, or we don't have the right methodology, we don't have the understanding of how to actually pass all these skills to children, then we might actually be part of the problem. And we hope that in the next 6 years, as in 2030, we won't have this problem. So probably that is why we are here. We're advocating for this quality education and probably trying to help educators, parents, to help these pupils, to help these children to acquire basic literacy and numeracy skills. So if you ask me my own opinion, I would say that for you to actually pass good numeracy and literacy skills to children, you as teachers, as educators, you need to be deliberate about equipping yourself on the right and adequate skills to help children to improve their numeracy and literacy skill. So, for example, I would say, as teachers, you can't keep doing what you have been doing for the past 6, 7, 8 years and you expect different results. Even according to Albert Einstein, he said that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So as teachers, we've been teaching children, young children, how to read, basically how to cram. And you see them moving to secondary school, you see a secondary school pupil unable to read. It tells you something as educator that basically your methodology, the method of teaching or passing that skill, which is literacy skill, to them is actually wrong. So as teachers, as educators, we need to have this at the back of our mind that we need to learn, relearn, and unlearn. Because if we keep on doing the same thing over and over again, and we expect that, the pupils will be excellent. No. Now, the world is evolving, and we need to evolve with the world. And for example, now, we are now making use of the Jolly Phonics as a method of teaching children how to read. And as teachers, you really want to help children. That means you yourself need to learn that skill of Jolly Phonics. Sometimes when I get teachers for interview, the first thing I ask them is, do you know your sounds? Because these are basic things. If you don't know your sound, and as teachers, and so how do you pass that skill to children? That's what we are saying. If we as teachers, we don't have the skill, then how do the children, how will they get these skills? So we should try as much as possible to acquire this skill. Don't say, I know it now. Some teachers will tell you that something that I've been doing for over 8 years. But what we have been doing for over 8 years, what is the outcome? What is the outcome of that thing you have been doing for the past 8 years? Has it been effective? If it hasn't been effective, even if you feel it's effective, why can't you change your method to achieve better results? So as teachers, we need to be mindful of our methodology so that we can give the best skill to these children. So, like I said earlier, as educators, we must also plan to educate the next generation to achieve sustainable future. Because if you don't, like the last week, I think doctor said that if there is no education, there is no change. If we don't educate the next generation, then what do we expect that the future will become? So as teachers, we must be provided with the knowledge, the skills, and the tools needed to effectively teach our pupils the right content in the numeracy and literacy skills. You can't teach children and say A as in aeroplane, or as in uniform. You know, there is no phonemic awareness. You are just teaching these children to cram. So it has gone beyond root learning. It has gone beyond teaching children to cram. Now we are now following steps. We are now following formation. The same thing applies to handwriting. You see children, even brilliant children, failing. Why? Because they lack literacy skills. They lack proper handwriting skills, proper formation. Because majority of schools, if you want to teach children how to write, you just tell them, write A, let the next one write B. It has gone beyond that. You have to help the children to expose them to pre-writing skills, make sure that their fine motor skills are strong before you can expose them to writing. And if you are exposing them to writing proper, then you have to start from writing K. After writing K, then you move to A. There are formations of all of this, but as teachers, even if you don't know it, how do you pass it to the next generation? You can't give what you don't have. So we must try as much as possible to develop our skills and knowledge. Even though sometimes some people will say, hey, I was not trained. The government are not training me. Train yourself. There are so many groups, so many platforms. You can learn for free. Google is there. You can learn further. Don't wait for someone to sit you down before you start learning. So, because if you learn and you have the right information, then you pass the right information to the children. Who is the future of tomorrow, or the leaders of tomorrow? So, like I said, children are the future of tomorrow, and we have to instill in them the proper content. And if we want the right future, then we need to give the right content to children, because they are the ones that will grow into the future leaders. So still on helping children to acquire quality education, because I believe that when children are taught the right content, the right with the right methodology, we use the right method, the playway method, gamification, and all of that, we don't have any problem. I'm sure that by 2030, I'm sure that even if children will lack basic numeracy and literacy skills, it shouldn't be up to that 300 million. And our focus is even to actually to even avoid any child lacking numeracy and literacy skill. So children should have good and solid foundation, and they should be exposed to the right educational content. So according to UNICEF in 2000, it says that, when you talk about quality education, you talk about children who are well nourished. There is an aspect of teachers trying to help these children, trying to pass the right knowledge. But parents should also help the children, because if children come into the classroom unnourished, or probably a child comes into the classroom hungry, there is nothing you want to teach that child. So we should try as much as possible to help our kids, get the right breakfast when they come to school. And by doing that, they will be ready, they will be energetic, and be ready to learn and participate in the classroom activities. It also says that we should also provide healthy and safe environment and supportive environment for our children. Also, we should provide inclusive education. Talking about inclusive education, I would also dwell more on children with special needs. It might be children with autism, it might be children with ADHD, it might be children with dyslexia, it might be children with any form of special need at all. So we shouldn't, as teachers or as educators, say, oh, this one can't learn now. When we are learning, is looking at the wall. The child might be looking at the wall, but the child can hear. So even as teachers, we must have at the back of our mind that we have different kinds of learners. We have the kinesthetic learners that learn through when you show them, materials, flashcards. They learn when you tell them to fill it. Because you want to teach a child how to write 6, then you can tell the child to use his or her finger to trace the 6. That is trying to help kinesthetic learners. So we can't just say, okay, the child is not learning, oh, is an autistic children, he can't learn. No, try to engage the children. No child should be left behind, whether the child is normal or whether the child has some needs some special assistance. We should try as much as possible to help them. Right now, I'm actually going through some trainings on how to help children with special needs. You know, they are helpless, and we as adults, we are the ones that can help them. But if you as an adult, you don't even have the right education, you don't even have the right to how to help them, then you can't help them. So we should try as much as possible to ensure that if we are planning to give children quality education, we should also talk about inclusive education, include all the children. No child should be left behind, whether the child is a special needs child or not. We should try to involve all kids in our learning environment. Then talking about that, so as educators, we should be committed to nurturing young minds and also help the future generation. And we have to equip them, like I said, with this right skills and knowledge that is ready for sustainable development. And one thing I do as an advocate, and I'm very sure that we should also be an advocate to quality education, we should try as much as possible to do the little that we can to help these children. One of the things I do is that I train teachers. Sometimes every week. I train teachers every week for free. Not because, not because I'm not, I don't have any other thing to do, but I just feel that once the teachers get the right skill, at the end of the day, I'm helping the children to achieve good numeracy and literacy skills. So when I train teachers, and we as educators, if we train ourselves, we come together to train ourselves to give the right information, to have the right skills and information. At the end of the day, we are helping the children. We're helping the children because the children will be the one that is at the receiving end. So that's actually a way I'm actually using to help the future generation to ensure sustainable development. So I personally, I aspire to collaborate with like-minded educators to leverage cutting-edge resources and cultivate a network of support that will enable me to drive meaningful and impactful lives to the young children and the community worldwide. Thank you so much, and I hope I've been able to pass the information.
All right, thank you so much, Mrs. Ayoade. Please, can we show our hands of clapping at the chat room? Thank you so much, Mrs. Ayoade. I really appreciate your presentation. At this point, I would like us to come up online with our questions. If you have any questions, especially for Dr. Abdul Ganiu, please can we come up with our questions? Because I saw at the chat box I don't know if it's a question or a statement from Mr. Guyi Lawal. He's saying that considering the present structure of curriculum in our primary and secondary school, most of which are not contemporary and relevant, what has been done to rectify the anomalies? I think this is a question. Dr. Ganiu, please, are you there?
I am here.
All right, sir. So what do you have to say concerning the question?
As a nation, there are a lot of how will I put it, side distraction. Let me put it that way. Not that government is not doing anything. There are a lot of committees that have worked in the past to see what is relevant and what is not relevant. And as we speak, some committees are still working. But the problem is the membership of those committees. Are they the right member? That's the question I've always been asking. That when you put a square peg in a round hole, then you don't see the result. I think that's one of the major problems we have when we are putting up committee to look at some certain things. Not that government has not done anything, but what they have done is not enough. And the relevant agency, the relevant individual, the relevant advocate that are supposed to be among those that are there are not there. Let me give you an example. The current secondary school curriculum that we are using, I was opportune to travel while I was in Queen's College with some of our senior colleagues that went there. When we got there, I was sent back home because I raised some issues then on some of those things that are coming up and why they shouldn't do that. For instance, biology as a subject was, even for sciences, is selective, not compulsory. I stood up to say that no, so that you give option for students to be able to navigate. If they cannot move this way, they move this way. So in nutshell, these are evolving, and I believe we will get there when we use the right people. Government are doing, they have done a lot and they are still doing it, but they need to use the right people to look at our various curriculum. At university level, that has been corrected. The CCMAS, the current CCMAS that is being used or that is about to be used, has addressed so many things that will make us to be 21st century compliance and future ready. However, one of the problems we still have is that those of us that are in the system, are we trained to that level? Those that have been sent out of this country to be trained in order to meet up with this goal, they refuse to come back. See the problem? They refuse to come back. The system has done that so that the next crop of teachers that will go out, they will have the necessary skill. However, those that are supposed to give them that skill, the young one that have been sent out to acquire that skill, to come back home to give back to the society, refuse to come to the nation. So thank you very much. Government is doing all it can, but it is not enough.
All right, thank you so much, Doctor. Please, do we have more questions? Or if you want to say something, please, can you signify so that you can just make your comments now, please? Any contribution, any comment from anyone? Hello, anybody? Hello? Do we still have questions, contribution? Should we just go ahead? All right, okay, so if we do not have any questions at the moment, I will be introducing our next speaker. But before I do, I want to use the opportunity to say thank you very much to Dr. Abdulganiy Ridwan. Thank you for creating this time and opportunity to share with us some of your insights. I really appreciate it. Please, can we just say thank you to Doctor in the chat room as I introduce the next speaker?
Thank you very much, sir. We are grateful.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
All right, thank you so much, sir.
Can I exit because I want to?
All right, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yes, sir.
You're
All right.
welcome.
Yes, sir. All right. So as we proceed, I'd like to introduce our next speaker, he's the last speaker for today's program. His name is Mr. Adeoton Beniza Folorensho. He is a trained and over a decade experienced teacher, researcher, and public speaker. He's a graduate BSc MEd, PhD in view biology education. Has served as an executive secretary to several religious-based scholarship foundations and educational institutions. Currently heads the Department of Science, Role Model School, Lagos, C/O, Daystar Christian Center, Lagos. Without wasting much time, please can we just say, clap our hands in the chat room as we welcome Mr. Ebenezer, also known as Dr. Virus. Mr. Ebenezer, you are on now.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to say a big thank you to Ms. Efe for this opportunity.
You're welcome, sir.
Okay, I want to first of all acknowledge all the speakers who have spoken ahead of me. They've done a very good job, and even for that question that came from that's my brother there. I must say I was tempted to answer, but I said no. Let me hold back because I'm going to be speaking after now. But let me just mention that my brother, I'll be very sincere with you. The problem still lies with us persons.
Yeah.
Because
True.
we make good policies, we make all those structures, everything cannot work if us, the persons, are not willing to even make those little adjustments. I've noticed that several times. The government has if you read all the policies right from the beginning, right from when they started education at all in Nigeria till now, you will see that they have fantastic ideas, but the persons involved, like Prof said, the persons that were they were just dominated. They just wanted their way. They don't even want to listen to any other person. Their own is just their way. And it's for financial gain all the time, almost all the time. Well, let's go into today. My own, still part of the talk, but my own focus as a teacher is towards the teachers. So quickly, I'll just go dive into this, and I'm trusting that we'll be able to discuss at length. Okay, so see Adetutu has helped me in mentioning all these goals, SDG, what they are trying to achieve. Also, Mrs. Ayuade also helped me in explaining more of this. So I may not be going into the details of it, but let me just quickly go into the all SDG goals 1 to 17. If you go through them, you will see that one of that goal that can achieve all 17 in a very short time is this number 4, the quality of education. If I'm educated, poverty will be it reduces it reduces the ability for me to say I cannot feed for myself. No, at least I will be aware, because it brings awareness of opportunities around me. There will be an awareness. So education is a fundamental human right and is essential for the achievement of all SDG goals. Quality education equips individuals with the knowledge, skills, and values. You see, and this was the request that education was supposed to be solving in our national policy that was read by Dr. the other time. So you see that all these things are still boiled down to education, quality education. Education is a powerful tool for reducing poverty, promoting gender equality, improving human health, fostering economic growth. So even the problem Nigeria is finding himself right now, we may be in an economic challenge right now, but it can only be resolved. It can be resolved using education. It can be resolved using education. So let's dive into this more appropriately. I want to just tilt to an aspect that is the teacher training part. The early childhood, there are so many strategies that have been put in place. Many of these have been mentioned, but I want to dive into the teacher training part, because I have come to realize that you cannot increase or improve the standard of education in any way or in any form without acknowledging the role or the place of a teacher. One book, one pen, one child, and one teacher. You see, the cycle is not complete if a teacher is not mentioned, can change the world. And that was mentioned by Malala. That was the girl child that was shot in the head some years back in Pakistan, just in a protest for them saying no, that a girl child should not be given education. And she was like, she wanted to be educated. And she's doing very well today. Today, she's a Nobel Prize winner, just because she had the right kind of teachers. She had the right kind of teachers. Another quote by Bob Talbot says, teaching kids to count is fine, but teaching them what counts is better. What really counts. And that's one of the achievements of the national policy trying to achieve, that we are able to value what we have. We're able to value what we have in conjunction with the society. The value we know can now apply, can now bring it to for on our environment. We can now use it to even profit our own selves and profit the environment at large. That is what we intend to look into today. So The prime minister, the former prime minister of the United Kingdom once said in the 19th century, he said, no nation rise above a teacher. Yeah, this was one of the things that Ms. Tutu was trying to say, Tutu was trying to say the other time, that the role of a teacher, we cannot underestimate what a teacher can do. We are agents of change. The role of a teacher, we're the educators, we train the mind, we fill with information and knowledge. We are agents of change. I can't oversay this. I want to stress this. You are the agents of change. So for those of us who are looking for a quality education, let us start it now. We are mentors, we are role models, we are promoters of inclusion and diversity. And I remember telling the story of how a new child was brought to school, but the child was had a little bit of difficulty in walking. So they had to use like a wheelchair, kind of a very motorized wheelchair, to help her walk into the school. And we right from the assembly there, no child wanted to go close. No one wanted to, even teachers, everyone was aloof. But the parents were bringing the child in. But because the class teacher has been briefed, the class at which the child was going into, and the class teacher has been briefed, properly told the child that was coming and all that. So the class teacher stood up to the occasion and went to receive the child. It was upon the class teacher receiving the child that every member of the class were able to now receive that child and help and join in helping her move and settle into class. What was that possible? It was done because a teacher is a great influence. It really influenced that environment and changed the trajectory, rather than everybody trying to look from afar, like feeling, oh, you're not supposed to be here, giving that look, or you're not, what are you here? What are you here for? It's only a teacher that can help break those barriers. It can help break those barriers that are found in my society. That is our role. We are facilitators of learning. We are facilitators of learning. What do you want to learn? You will learn from a teacher. Interestingly, that's why it's not just teaching in the four walls of the classroom. Teaching even goes beyond the four walls of the classroom. It happens even outside the classroom. An adult is teaching someone, is teaching a child. We're teaching. We're all involved in this teaching process, and we need to get it right. But that's not my focus. I'm looking at those in the classroom. My focus is on those in the classroom. So how can I, as a teacher, contribute to these SDG goals? Because I want them to be able to see that under the deep blue sea, no matter how dark it may look, it has bright colors and it has the beauty of the future in it. So I want to help every child see the beauty of the future that the future brings. Number one, I will be promoting an inclusive and diversity. Promoting inclusion and diversity. That is how I can help. Because one of these goals of the SDG, quality education, says everyone should have free access. Everyone should have access. Promoting that access. So my inclusion and diversity, trying to promote it like what that teacher did in receiving that child, irrespective of the physical defects or challenge or the opportunity that the child brings to class, it tends to receive the child to class. I've seen schools where a new child is brought and maybe the child is noticed to be on the autistic spectrum. I see teachers going to revolt, telling the deputy head or telling those that are in charge, and look, I can't take that child in my class. You have to take me to another class. You have to take that child to another. Hello, relax. You are a teacher. Your own contribution could be accepting that, making that child accepted in that environment goes a very long way. Number two is by professional development. I must see to my own development, especially in this career, because I usually used to say it, I'm passionate about teaching, and we need to be passionate too. So that if you say you're passionate about teaching, then you must find every means to improve yourself on this process of teaching, doing it better. Number three is collaboration and networking. You are not alone. Not one tree can make a forest. It's multiples of trees. Connect, like we're connecting to this afternoon with ourselves I know majority of those on this call will be teachers, because we're collaborating, we're networking. It helps. It helps sharpens your skills, and it helps you in contributing to the SDG goals. Because today's webinar is on awareness. We're trying to make ourselves aware as teachers, our part, and that's really very, very deeply reflective and evaluative. So we reflect and evaluate, reflecting on how much more can I do to achieve the standard, the quality education required. Oh, receive feedback from your friends and let them let you know the strategies you are putting up. Are they good? Can you make an adjustment and all that? You are not an island of learning. No man is an island. So as a teacher, you must be open to learning. Another thing there is, number 5 is preparation and planning. Yes. You cannot talk of quality education without preparation and planning. It is one thing to prepare, it's another thing to plan it out and make sure it goes as planned. So we need to prepare. Yes, you prepared that lesson notes. Is it top notch? Is it passing that quality education that you intend to send down? Planning it out. Is that planning really thorough? Like they say that anything that failed at the planning stage. So let's put this in mind as teachers. Number 6, our classroom management. That class of years, those people you are influencing, those little seeds you are planting there, do you have at the back of your mind that it's the rightful quality? Because you see, interestingly, managing our classroom alone as teachers instills in our students and learners around us the responsibility and the values required even in the workplace. Just you organizing your classroom, putting things in order, putting those books in order, putting the right place at the right time, using the right things at the right time. It also instills in our learners those wonderful qualities required in the workspace, required in the society. Number 7, teaching and learning. What are the teaching and learning procedures, strategies that we are employing? Are they generally, is it cutting across every set of learner, every group of learners? Because in every classroom, or in every, because I'm using the classroom because that's our small confines, that's our small society that we are going to be influencing. Does your teaching style, or are you just particulate about a few of them, those who are the high flyers, or those who are just the average, or your focus is just on those who are struggling? Is your teaching and learning procedures differentiated? Is it acknowledging everybody's milestones? That's our job, because you must be able to move a child from one milestone to another, from here to there. That's the idea that we have, that we are supposed to do, because quality, like it's a continuum. It's a continuum of improvement. You don't rest your ox, you just keep improving until you reach your optimum. So do we assess and feed ourselves back? Let me just mention this story. I remember a Nigerian traveled to the UK presently as a teacher, and she falsified continuous assessment scores, and she was arrested. Over here in Nigeria, if you do it, it's not falsified. But over there, they have a law to protect that it's falsified. What did she do? She only gave scores. She assumed scores. She didn't really go through testing the children. She just assumed, oh, it's teacher's score, it's my CA. I can just write any number. Listen, you're also contributing to the quality of education. So please, let's get it right in assessments, in feedbacks from parents, feedbacks from our superiors, feedbacks from even our contemporaries, and it will help us in making our own contribution to the quality of education that we receive, that we give out. So we want to end at this point. Teaching and learning curriculum are all interwoven in the school practice and should reflect a school's. I just mentioned this. I know Prof have said this, so I don't want to go back to this, but let me just mention some things and I will round up here now. Continuous learning, reading, research. As a teacher, when last did you read researches done by other teachers? Oh, as a teacher, when last did you even read a journal, a research article, or a book as regards the teaching profession? That's another big question that we need to begin to answer. Because even as teachers, what are those professional organizations, those bodies that we are members? Most times, because many of these bodies are always involved, they're a lot trying to register money, so many of us run away from it. Please, let us try as much as possible, because that's when we can begin to effect the little change and begin to move towards quality. Let's try as much as possible to be part and parcel of those associations. It will speak well. Thank God for the likes of Doctor who raised his voice during the, those curriculum planning process. He really helped. Yeah, some schools adhered, some people did not adhere, but it's left to you to make the choice. Online resources, we should make use of integrating those technologies into our work. Collaborate. I've gone over this again and again. Mentorship. Yes, there's something that I discovered, and it's very key, especially for school owners on this call, and I would advise it. A new teacher comes, especially new teacher in the new teaching profession, is joining, maybe joins as a copper or is fresh. Attach them to somebody who is experienced, who has been teaching for a long while. They have a lot to benefit. That's why many people, after some few years, they quit and leave the teaching profession because nobody mentored them. Nobody showed them that, look, yes, there will be some hiccups at some point in time, but these are the things that will strengthen you. So I advise, let that little mentorship, we call it the mentor and the mentee, let there be that connection. It helps the school to also bond if it's done positively, not negatively, where they begin to create cliques. But it helps the school bond, and also breaks the barrier of the fear of leadership. Oh, some people are ahead of us. They were Oga. They are now creating eye service. When they see them coming, that's when they walk. When they see them, another no. But because if I am a mentor and a mentee, there is the connection. You can talk. Communication level is so discreet, and it brings in a little bit of informality into the process, and it works. It makes teaching and learning, the quality of education is also improved because the older ones are able to pass their knowledge to the younger ones, and that will help. Even the organization culture is enhanced by this mentorship. So if you're having challenge in your school, sustaining some culture, the good cultures which you started with the school, try these mentorship programs. They will help you. Mentorship between teachers and peers. Technology integration. I see no school in this dispensation that should not be having technology, devices, technology in education, education in technology, all should be brought into to ensure that teaching process. There's so many apps right now. There are so many, let me even mention one or two. Quizy is a very good one to help you. You see a globalized question. You see people asking questions of that same topic you're teaching. And you see different perspective. It helps you as a teacher. You're now preparing the child, not just for your own exams, not just for WAEC or for NECO or for JAM, but you're preparing the child for the global community. And that is what quality education is all about. You're not preparing the child just for one exam, but you're preparing the child for the global community, because this world now, it's a global village. I can be here and we're speaking to the whole world. So it's a global village. So let's make it happen. Feedback, seeking feedback from student, peers, supervisor. I already identified this. Identify areas of improvement. Where do I need to improve? And number 10, please, as a teacher, have personal development plan for yourself. Where do you want to be part-time? Have development plans for yourself. Where do you want to be part-time? If you have chosen teaching as your career, have a development plan for yourself. It will help you a lot. In closing, I just have 3 things to say, just like in the traffic light, red, yeah, amber, and we have the green. For the red, I appeal for our commitment, and that's my red there, that we stop and make sure we are committed to this quality education, because it's in our hands. It's really, really in our hands. We have a lot to do. I know we may complain government is not supporting, that is not this, that is not that. I agree. But please, let's not drop the ball on our commitments. Let's not drop the ball on our commitment. Imagine if the pilot, while the plane is going up into the air, decides to switch off the engine. What happens? That aeroplane will crash immediately, will drop to the ground. So let's not put off the engine. The engine we need is commitment. The engine we need is commitment. We need to be committed. Number 2, I'm appealing for our collaboration. Listen, no man is superior. No man is inferior. I always say this, especially when I'm talking to teachers. No man is superior and no man is inferior. We all have our roles. We all have our parts to play. It's just like the body. We all have the parts to play. The nose cannot say he doesn't want to have anything to do with the leg. That nose will suffer for it. They won't be able to go other places to smell other things, smell good things. So please, we are all part of a body. So let's collaborate. Let's contribute our parts. Let's help others do well. And lastly, I'm appealing for continuous learning. What you learned 5-10 years ago, like I usually ask my children, when they say something is impossible, I said that is not learning. If you tell me it is impossible, you have not learned. Because 10 years ago, if they told me that I will be speaking from here in Lagos, and somebody in as far as maybe in the north or in the south or far from the countries far away will be able to hear me and be speaking, or we'll be speaking, and we can even see our faces, I will say it's a lie. I will say it's impossible. But listen, nothing is impossible if we are open to learning, for continuous learning. Let's relearn, let's unlearn, and let's relearn. All right, at this point, I want to say thank you. I know questions will come after now if there's need for that time, more questions. And thank you for the time. Over to you, Miss Efe. Thank you very much. Miss Efe, are you on the call? Okay.
Hello.
Okay,
Hello,
go ahead.
hear me?
Go ahead. Go ahead. We can hear you
Can
now.
you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
All
you.
right, thank you so much, Mr. Ebenezer. Thank you very much for your contribution. Also want to say thank you to all the speakers, from Mrs. Tutu to Dr. Abdul Ganyu to Mrs. Ayoade and also Mr. Ebenezer. I want to use this opportunity to appreciate you guys. Well done. This is a very good job. Also, the floor is open for questions, for contributions and feedbacks. Please, if you have any feedback, contribution, whatever, please can we indicate so that you can speak? Any contribution? Okay. Mrs. Adetutu, do you have something to say?
Yes,
Add or
quickly.
subtract? All right.
Yes. I just want to add to what I've been saying. You know, there was a question that talks about the contemporary curriculum structure, how relevant it is. We should all remember that now curriculum is not really meeting the needs of the learner right now in Nigeria. And I would advise school owners to try and look inward. Talking about their national goals, they should try and integrate or try to know how they're going to use it with their own philosophy or the goals of their school. I will employ school owners to look into processing skills for their students, life skills, looking at peace education, and also more of inclusion in their materials. We can't continue saying, oh, certification. We need to decentralize. After school, there's not everybody that have the money to go to university. At least even if they have, they should have some life skills in which the children can be able to follow up after schooling. The school owners should please look into that. And also curricularists, the theorists, they should try and have a central, agreement. They should forget about their interests, their own values, but they should look at, the interest of the individuals, the students, the learners, because at the long run, no matter the certification and everything, as long as their education is, you must make a change. When they are trying to implement planning, all of these things, they should involve the teachers, which will help to give them an idea of what they can correct in education. So that's my own take from here. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mrs. Adetutu. I remembered from doctor's speech. Doctor was saying something about people who went for training outside the country and refused to come back. I want us to talk about that because we know the situation of the country in Nigeria. A lot of us are looking for opportunities outside because of the, let me say, poverty rate, and also because teachers are not really well taken care of. If you check, teachers really don't get the best of pays in terms of financial payments. That's what I'm talking about. So I wanted to say to Doctor that people are looking for a better life, including teachers, because teachers are human beings. So I feel like teachers should, or let me say generally, that we need to be aware that teachers are also human beings. We go to the same markets as they do. Because I remember when some of these parents are talking, and I'm like, do you know that we also go to the market too to get, we go to buy foodstuffs and all this stuff. So you cannot say that because we are teachers, we should keep showing you mercy without you also looking at our end. So to what Doctor was saying, a lot of people, when they get the opportunity to travel outside the country, after learning the skill, they don't want to come back because they know when they come back, they will not have that kind of life, enjoyment, good pay, good environment, So I feel like that's one of the reasons why when people get that opportunity, they just disappear. So I feel like the government should wake up to their responsibilities, make sure that teachers are well paid, create the enabling environment, just like other speakers have said. And also for teachers, I would like to encourage, because a lot of teachers, yeah, I can see your hand, Mr. Ebenezer, before you speak. I have understood that some teachers want to do teaching full time, but the pay is not really okay. And I would like to advocate or suggest that we find out other means and other areas to make money so that the passion for teaching can continue while we have other source of incomes that will not make us do things that is contrary to our work as teachers. I don't know if you understand my point. So I'm leaving the floor open for us to come up with feedbacks, contributions, questions. Please feel free to show your emoji that you want to speak. So I'm leaving the floor for Mr. Ebenezer. I think he wants to say something.
Okay. Very quickly, while you were speaking, one of the things you said popped up a question, and the question was a matter of like I mentioned passion, I mentioned commitment. Now, I always say this in the choice of a career. When I speak about career, I say this: there are three things that you must always check when choosing a career. Now, out of these three things, two things must be present at every point in time. Very simple. Number one is passion. Number two is money. And number three is time. These three things. Now, you agree with me. If you're teaching, then you must have the passion for it. And interestingly, it doesn't have the money, but he has the time. But sometimes if you teach somewhere, it could burn your time. The many places that can pay you a little relatively well, they will take your time and they will give you money. But if you don't have the passion for it, that's good. So I'm trying to like make a case for those who go for these trainings abroad and do not return. If you yourself have not resolved these three things and look for the best two that will suit you, I know you have needs. I used to say this. I know we have needs. We have desires. We also want to feel like our mates. But I usually used to say that it's the end that will justify it. It is not just now. Many people start jobs and at the end, they are not productive. It is only, I've said this, I don't know if I found out that it's only the teaching profession that at old age is still productive. Check any other profession. It's at old age, at 90, he's an emeritus professor. He's traveling all over the world, just going to appearance. All he just needs is appearance or his signature on some documents, and that's all. That is their height. I'm looking at that at their height. Maybe if you got to the peak of your career as a teacher and you see the benefits, even your signature will still be productive after that. So if we keep looking at the immediate need, let's look at the long term. It will help. It will not, so that our commitment towards this job does not dwindle, because if our commitment dwindles, it also impacts on the quality of education we will pass hand down to the learners. So I encourage us. God will provide all our needs, and God will use men. He will touch men. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that contribution. I'm seeing on the chat room that Mrs. Adetutu is acknowledging the presence of her MD. MD, sir or ma. We appreciate your presence here. I want to also use the opportunity to appreciate my okay, her name is Ashaolu, right?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for joining. I think you
okay.
should try and contribute.
Ashaolu, is it a Mrs. or a Mr.?
Mrs. Olayemi.
Mrs. Okay, Mrs. Ashaolu. Okay, Mrs. Olayemi Ashaolu, thank you for joining in. Do you have a contribution or feedback or question? The floor is open for you to contribute. All right, before I hand over to anybody that is ready to contribute, I want to use the opportunity to appreciate my former HOS, Mrs. Helen Akinola. She's here. I'm surprised that she's here, but I want to appreciate her for showing up at this meeting. I don't know if she's still online. If she's still online, she can just unmute and say something. Hello, ma. Also, I want to acknowledge one of my colleagues, Mrs. Sade Bumi. She's here as well. Mrs. Akiola, please, can you just say a little? You can unmute and say something.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, ma'am. We can hear you. Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay. I want to appreciate Miss Ife, and I want to especially thank her for bringing this kind of program. It's so inspiring. I pray that God will take her far in Jesus' name. Thank you all.
Amen. Thank you so much, ma. I really appreciate your presence. Also, I want to appreciate everybody, though I cannot mention your name. So please just with a show of hands, come online so that you can speak. This is time for us to contribute, feedback, you know. So the floor is open. The floor is open, please.
Please, Ms. Ashaolu, you can also speak, ma'am. You can just
Mrs. Ashaolu, you can speak now.
Yes, ma'am. You can also speak, please, ma'am.
Unmute her. Ebenezer.
She can unmute from her end as well. She can
Okay.
unmute from her end as well. Yes. Unmute from your end and speak, ma. Is she there? Hey. Okay, so for any other contribution or
Lisa, can
feedback,
you hear
can
me?
we come on? Can we come online and speak?
I believe we are all educators here on this platform, and we need to contribute so that we should also know more about all this. Please, this is an interactive section.
Hello, can we unmute and make our contributions before we round off, because we're about rounding off. Yeah, all right. Mrs. Adiola Amos, you can speak now.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning
Good
from
afternoon, ma.
you. I'm actually here in Canada. I'm on Mrs. Ayodi's platform. I've
Wow,
been
wow.
enlightened. Yeah, as in, it's good to know that there are like minds coming together to talk about progress of education in Nigeria, thinking about the shortcomings and how to make for significant way forward. I've been enlightened, and again, I'm also inspired. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you all the way from Canada. Can we have more persons speak at this point? The floor is open. You can unmute and speak, please. All right, Mr. Gabriel Adedapo. Sir, please, can we have you speak, sir? The floor is open. Mrs. Imelda, please, can we have you speak now? Mrs. Ashaolu, we can have you speak. Hey. The floor is open.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Yes, I'm Mudukbe. Good to be here.
All right.
Yeah. Well done to Mrs. Ade. I joined when the first speaker was talking.
Mrs. Adetutu. Mrs. Adetutu.
Yes, I must say well done to all the speakers. May God bless
Thank you
this
very much.
thankless job you're doing. May God bless it and grant your heart
Amen.
desires. I want to make mention of the curriculum used presently in our education system, educational system rather. It needs to be looked into, especially in regards to AI inclusion.
True.
This technology AI inclusion into educational system, because in Nigeria, it could be in other countries, but majorly in Nigeria, there is no yet look into that aspect of education. And our children are using it in the houses. When I catch them on phone, on them, all of them are into one AI. Even they teach me the one I don't know. They will mention the latest AI. I'm talking even of primary, secondary. They'll say, when I say I'm on this one, they'll say, Mommy, that one was old. We don't use it again. I say, which one? When they mention it, you won't believe what that AI will do. The AI that when you just talk, it will give you the picture of what you have said. When you just say, give me a girl carrying a baby and under a teenage girl carrying a baby and he's sad, that just speak like that or write it like that. The AI will give you see a picture looking exactly like the prompt you gave it. And they will always say, Mommy, you forgot there's an AI that will make your graphic work. beyond, they will think you drew it. They will say, hey, I'm using this. Mommy, that is old. And that one you're just mommy. I'll be saying, you know, but it's not in our educational system. They use it to search, they use it to get information, they use it to answer questions, but it's not in our educational system. Instead of them to read, they'll use their hand. AI, they just tell AI what to do, to bring all the answer, even the calculation. But it's not an educational system, curriculum. It's not in our curriculum. How do we go about it? How do we go about this? So that teachers will not be in the olden days using analog to think.
Yeah.
Where the children are not even thinking. AI is doing everything for them. How do we carry along our teachers? Honestly, it's always, I'll be saying, when they answer questions at home, say, mommy, I've done my assignment. Say, this calculation, say, mommy, I use AI. Hi. I'll be saying, teacher, does your teacher know that you did not even think?
Okay. I like this perspective of vision brought, ma'am. I must say there's even a guy in North Korea. He was the first person to carry out this kind of conference, this AI conference for teachers, because even in the world there is, for now, is just gradually trying. They're trying every effort in China to inculcate it into because there is no written, it's not cast in stone yet. No one has written a document to say, okay, education, the curriculum of our nation will now be, no, they've not accepted because even the fight now is for the ethics. The problem now is ethics. We're looking at it ethically, is it correct? So that's why that is still going on. Already the environment has accepted it and they are really, really gone very far. Now, now I know what you are calling for is legit. It's legit. And I like what Ms. Tutu said the other time, that school owners, especially because that's where we can start from, our own small confined space, our classrooms. Now, the only problem that this, I think, will cause, which you already started identifying, is that critical reasoning may be lost. I use it discreetly, may be lost. But this is one that I say myself, I also need them to also understand is this. Asking the AI the right questions is also thinking. That's why I said it may be lost. So if you don't ask the right question, the AI is not able to even produce those answers for you. But this is the only place I have my challenge. Those in the UK, because I recently was doing a training with Cambridge, and I realized that the UK is removing calculator. By the year 2025 now, calculator will be out of mathematics. And I'm asking myself, what's going on? What is happening? They said they noticed that the children are no more thinking. So they are trying to remove all these things and all that. So we have to be very careful. We have to be very careful moving that migration. That's because, like my teacher would say, he said, every part is required. The traditionalist is required. The contemporaryist is required. And those who are in the middle, in between, they are all required in our world. We all need ourselves. We all need ourselves in our world. So yes, it's a good thing, but we have to, well, yes, we get there slowly, but I know you're looking at it will be very fast, but I will advise that we tread with caution. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. I want to also add that when it comes to AI and, the way things are improving very fast when it comes to technology, I'd like to say that, there is the blessing and the cost of this show of AI. I don't know if you get that point. There is blessing and the cost. So we have to really weigh it, in those areas before implementing it. All right. So can we have more speakers before we round off? Can we have any other person speak before we round off? Because we're about to close. Mrs. Imelda is Miss
Okay, good
Imelda.
afternoon, madam.
All right, good afternoon, ma.
Okay,
Mrs. Kemi.
yes, Abiodun. Yes, AI it's a welcome development in education, and it has helped greatly in getting so many things done. But similar to what the last speaker said, we ought to be very careful concerning how we get AI integrated into education. If we are not careful, it may make us not make use of our human capabilities as we ought to. That's just my take.
All right, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I also want to say that for teachers, let's also try and upgrade. Let's try and also know what is going on, because a lot of teachers are really not there when it comes to the digital space and the smartphone era now. So let's try and know what is going on also, so that we can guide our children, because there truly there is the curse and the blessing for this step, these new inventions now. So we need to guide our children and guide ourselves, even though the AI is helping us, is supporting us, because I use AI a lot to do a lot of things. But then I love the aspect Mr. Ebenezer was talking about, the aspect of not allowing us utilize our brain anymore. So we need to be very careful. Also, in contributing to what Mr. Ebenezer said concerning the UK curriculum that they're working on, I also went online and I made my own findings, and I discovered that China is doing this. I don't know if we know about this abacus. I think it's abacus or something.
Yeah, it's
That
abacus.
they use for calculation.
Yeah,
so that's what they are using. Even I had to personally have downloaded a lot of videos, and I'm training myself personally on abacus, because nobody taught us when we were in school. We were, even the calculator, some people don't even know how to use the calculator, to maximize the calculator. So learning how to use the abacus will also help you to think fast. And that's why if you check China, the Chinese, Japanese, the Koreans, they are doing very well. They know root information, like they know how to solve information very critically, unlike other countries where people are allowing things to do things for them, or allowing AI to do things for them. So I will really employ that we go all out to learn, because for now in Nigeria, we've not gotten to the point where the federal government is bringing all these kinds of implementation to educate the teachers and all. So we on our own, because the internet is open for us to go and learn. Let's go make findings and encourage ourselves and learn and know some of these skills that will help us. Without wasting much time, let's just, I don't know if there's anybody in the chat room that wants to say something. Is there any other person that wants to say something before we round off?
To this end, yes, Sister Hefe. To this end, I want to suggest that even any other time when a call-up Zoom meeting like this comes up, you can involve 5 minutes introduction to AI, 5 minutes introduction to abacus, 5 minutes intro to any concept that can bless the world of teachers.
Oh, okay.
Just
All
5
right.
minutes of learning something new. Just 5 minutes.
All right.
And somebody present it, and you continue whatever other things you want to do.
All right. Okay. So in the next program, we are going to look into your contribution in training and letting us know. And that's one of the statements of Mrs. Ayoade. She mentioned something like that because she trains teachers. I'm also in her group where she trains teachers. She's good with early childhood trainings and also equipping teachers from the grassroots for you to be able to teach your children little things as little as sound, but it's not little, it's a big thing. So in the next training, we are going to be talking about some of the things that teachers should be aware of, because there are so many materials out there. There are so many resources. And when we fix the next Zoom meeting, we will let you know, and that will be extensively for trainings and equipping teachers. Thank you very much. At this point, I want to say thank you to everyone that participated. Thank you to all our principals, vice principals, MDs, HOSCs, HODs, our speakers at large. Thank you very, very much. We really appreciate you. The Zoom meeting will be uploaded on my YouTube page, efenewton, and that will be all for today. Thank you very much. We can unmute and say goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Sifi.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.